Yeah.
Hello, I'm here at Cumberland Gap and I've met a fellow here called Tom, and he's politely and kindly given us another few minutes here to demonstrate
Hey
this,
there.
what's known as a double bellows. He's
I've
a
been
blacksmith.
blacksmithing all day today, and you caught me just cleaning up here. So excuse the period inappropriate cart that I'm on here, which I'll say is why we defeated the British back in the day. But this is a double lung bellows, and it's about a 600-year-old idea. There's 3 plates here: one at the bottom, one at the top, and one in the middle. And so what you do is this one goes down under its own weight, and then when you pull the lever hanging over there, it pulls this up. It's going to inflate the top lung. So watch this. So the top
Okay,
lung
so it
goes
goes
up.
from the bottom into the top.
Yes, and then the weight of this top panel pushes down. The air comes out the hole down there. So if you go put your hand down there, you can feel it. So you ready? I'm going to push up, and now you'll feel it coming out, still coming out, still coming out, still coming out, still coming out. So the reason they use these is because you don't need 2 people to do it. One person can drive it. And the other reason is it gives you a relatively constant force. It doesn't matter quite where this lid is here, but it's going to blow with pretty much the same force at all those angles, because it's not going to be way up here. It's going to be down in here. So it's about the same force on all of them. I have a couple of bricks. I'll put a couple of bricks on top. I have a metal plate I'll put there. Today I was...
So this would be inflated slowly, and then with the weight it would push it down to a narrow...
Keep pushing. It'll push for about 15 seconds by itself.
That is the Bernoulli principle, I think. Is that
something like that. Pascal's law, one of those.
Yes, one of them anyway.
This is a little draw knife I'm making for the cooper. He has to make barrels and buckets. On the inside of those staves, you need to take the wood out to make the wood curved concave. And so I did that today, and I hardened it, and then I tempered it. So I'm going to put this to the grinder, and it's going to be ready to go. But I did that earlier today as well.
What is involved in hardening and tempering a piece of metal?
Okay, so if you have first, it's got to be high carbon steel, like a spring, like a leaf spring on a car is high carbon steel. This is actually it was a coil spring from a car is what it was.
Okay.
And so then you flatten it out, get it roughly in the right shape, and then you'll heat it up to about 2,000 degrees, 1,800 degrees, and let it set in there for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes so that the whole thing is at that temperature. You don't want your fire to be any hotter than that, because if you get too hot, you're going to melt it. So you just want to kind of hold it there for a few minutes so that the whole thing gets that hot. And then normally if you quench it in water, what's going to happen is the carbon content's what's really important, and the carbons aren't attached to the iron. They're just floating in between the lattice. So when you quench it, it goes from a relatively loose lattice to a really tight lattice, and the carbons don't have time to get out of the way, and they get trapped in the middle, and they're always pushing back against those iron atoms in the lattice. And so the more carbon you have in there, the more brittle everything is. It's also the harder everything is. So that's why you need higher carbon to make knives and files and things like that.
What date would that principle be first available?
Oh,
now that is way after the American Revolutionary War.
All this chemistry is way after that, but the actual doing of it dates back to before Roman times.
Oh my goodness!
The old guys, you do it this way, it works. If you don't do it this way, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so you learned this from your teacher. You learned it from your teacher, and it's been passed down for 2,000 years until we learned chemistry and metallurgy. Yeah, but now we know what's going on.
How many tradesmen of skill, such as yourself, would have been in the American Revolutionary Army?
In the Army?
In the Continental Army in 1775, 6, 7,
Well,
8.
associated with them, whether they're in the Army or associated with the Army, you're going to have blacksmiths, of course, to maintain horses, farriers for the horses. You're going to have gunsmiths. You're going to have bladesmiths. Those are all separate things. You're going to have coopers to make the barrels that you have to put all the food in, because we all eat 2.5 pounds a day of food, and that all has to get to you. You have wagoners to drive the wagons. You have people to maintain the wagons. You have wheelwrights to make the wheels for the wagons. You have saddlers to make the saddles. You have harness makers to make the harnesses for all those wagons. For any kind of leather stuff you're carrying, those leather guys are working on that. So there's a number of trades that we just don't think about these days.
Well, that would always be classed as logistics. Napoleon had a famous saying. He says, "An army marches on its stomach."
Absolutely.
Because you do not really understand how much is involved. We'll say what's now known as behind-the-scenes effort.
Exactly.
Poor Napoleon, he needed more coats.
So all those guys are behind the scenes, and we'll take an example from my time period. I'm in the 1700s. in 1750 we're all British here. If we're not British, we're the enemy. So George Washington is Colonel George Washington in the British militia. Thomas Walker is Major Thomas Walker in the British militia. Daniel Boone is a wagon driver for the British Army. He's also the most famous blacksmith to go through the Gap. He was a blacksmith for the British Army as well.
So Daniel Boone, at the beginning of his storied career, was a blacksmith, basically a tradesman.
He was paid by the British Army to be a wagon driver and a blacksmith. And along with Daniel Morgan from the Revolutionary War, he was also a wagon driver. They were in that whole thing together. Yeah.
Oh, that is fascinating. Tom, I am greatly appreciated for this. It has been the best moment of today.
Well, good. Thanks for that. I'm sorry I'm not hammering metal. Yeah.
That's okay.